Hi, everybody. This is Donna Anderson, author of Lovefraud.com, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Liane Leedom. And Dr. Leedom is a professor of counseling and psychology at the University of Bridgeport. And she's soon going to be presenting a series of webinars for Love Fraud to help survivors recover from the abuse that they've gone through. And the program is called Skills Training for Recovery from Abuse, Gaslighting, and Toxic Stress. So welcome, Dr. Leedom. It's good to see you again.
Thanks.
Okay. So part two of the program is specifically called Recovery from the Bodily Effects of Toxic Stress. So my first question is, how does the stress of being involved with a sociopath or psychopath or narcissist, how does this affect survivors physically?
Oh boy. The arousal from the stress and the trauma, if people don't address it, will set them up for adverse health outcomes years into the future.
Mm.
And, I think from the studies that you and I have done, Donna, I think we know that there's a pretty broad age range
Yeah.
of people that are watching us today. But let me just say that, first of all, if you're in your 30s and you don't address this, it's going to come back to bite you when you're middle age. If you're already more middle aged, then you don't have the reserve that you had when you're 30 to be able to deal with this. So either way, we have to start by reclaiming health. That is the prerequisite to recovery.
So what are some of the effects that people experience physically?
So I was referring a minute ago, I was referring to long-term effects.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say, long-term, there is a lot of evidence from intimate partner abuse literature that autoimmune disorders, cardiovascular disorders, you name it, are higher in people that have suffered intimate partner abuse. And that is without question. So that's the long term. In the short term, in elevated heart rate, problems sleeping, problems with digestion. And also, people defend, I said defend, the mind, I'll say the mind. The mind, when you're overly aroused on edge, the mind defends against that by actually disconnecting itself from the body.
Wow.
So people over time, they lose perception of their own bodies. And the problem with that is, but in the short term, it's useful because one of the ways you experience fear is that pain in your gut or in your chest. And so if you disconnect from your body, you won't be as troubled by the fear. But over the long run, then you lose a connection with important information about danger that you're in. Right? And we see this in children who have early trauma that they're later on, they're at such risk because of getting hurt because they've just disconnected from their fear and they can't use fear as a source of information. So we have to reclaim the body for that reason as well, so that we can come back aware of our bodies, come into our bodies, and also act as guardians for our bodies, because we need them for as long as we live, right? We live in our bodies. So We have to take care of them and keep them healthy.
So, how can mindfulness approaches help survivors overcome the effects of toxic stress?
Well, so I don't know that I would necessarily call these distress tolerance skills all mindfulness, but they are skills that um, have been shown in clinical trials to help people recover from trauma and mood problems, anxiety problems, and addiction through reconnecting with their bodies and through taking care of their bodies.
And what's the connection? How does it work?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, so the first thing is that your mind, the health of your mind is dependent on the health of your body.
Okay.
And so I always use this as the starting point with people, that we're first going to address your physical health, because then after we get a handle on that, then we can start working on your mental health. And so these techniques are about reducing arousal, reducing your stress hormone levels, improving your sleep, that kind of thing.
So, what are some of the specific techniques that people will learn for recovering from toxic stress in this particular program?
Okay, so I don't want to give away the whole store, but one big set of techniques is everything we know about increasing the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system. So we have sort of two branches of our autonomic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is our stress system, which is arousal and um, and and alertness. And then we have the parasympathetic system that's about relaxation. And and so there are a set of techniques that increase the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system, and people will learn to practice them. And the key is you practice them when you're okay, so that when you're not okay, you can easily do these things. If people wait and use these interventions that I'm going to teach them, when they're in trouble, then they might be saying, "Oh, I've had people say this to me. Oh, I wanted to do it, but then when I was stressed out, I couldn't remember how." So we're going to teach people to do these skills to lower their arousal, to get beyond being very emotionally overloaded, um, when they're calm. And then when they get into a pinch, as if you're in recovery from these people, you will, because these people keep trying to come back into your life, and you'll be ready. You'll know how to cope.
Okay. Well, I know, having looked at all the material, that this is going to be just a fabulous program. And I know it'll be so helpful, especially when people realize that, they're getting all worked up or spaced out, one or the other, because of their involvement with this disordered person, and they'll be able to deal with that. So thank you very much, Dr. Leedom, and we look forward to presenting all this information to the Lovefraud survivors.
I look forward to seeing everyone there.